Hello, everyone. This is the Sleeping Wendigo. I'd like to give a short announcement before I start this narration. I have tried to find the author for this, so this will be categorized as an unknown author because I have tried to find the author but was unable to. But I did wanted to still narrate the story. If y'all happen to know who the author is of Pokemon Strangled Red, please let me know. I would very much appreciate it because I cannot find anything of the author of this creepypasta. But as always, I hope y'all enjoy the story and let's get on with it. Pokemon Strangled Red. There are tons of stories out there about hacked Pokemon games, some of them really quite neat, such as the one about the version where you get a ghost as a starter. Some are ridiculous, silly stories about individuals dying after playing a game or the game talking to them. God, don't these writers know less is more when it comes to these stories? Oh well, I digress. I grew interested in these hacked games that are apparently in any thrift store on eBay or handed out by homeless people at random passerbys. I didn't have the pleasure of meeting any of these creepy people. I merely found this particular cartridge in a trash bin when the garbage truck backed into my neighbor's dumpster. I noticed the game and asked the trash man if I could take it. He didn't seem to mind, it was thrown away after all. I, of course, checked with my neighbor to confirm if they actually didn't want it, though they seemed perplexed as they never seen it in their life. Their son made a grab for it, a little boy who saw the Charizard on the cover crying out, "Pokemon, I want mommy!" But his mom told him no, seeing as I found it. He didn't even have a Game Boy anyway, he just liked Pokemon. Thinking nothing more, I simply went home, looking at the cartridge's sticker on the way. Just a plain old red version, sticker torn slightly across the Charizard's neck. But that was expected with such an old game. I had a blue version as a kid, so I was a bit eager to see the, albeit minimal, differences red version had. I was rather disappointed by what I saw when the title screen showed up. Pokemon Strangled Red version. Well, damn it. It was a hack. Were neat and all, but they had zero monetary value. The originals are quite valuable by now, and I wanted to play anyway. Red anyway, not this crap. Oh well, it was free. Might as well try it out. The name was odd, however. Strangled Red? That made no sense. Not even in a morbid description of someone being asphyxiated. As people turn blue when choking, not red. Who knows? Maybe there were a pair of these hacks and I just got the red one. The more I thought about it, though, the more interested I became. My initial disappointment turned into curiosity. I wanted to know what the creator had made, and I was going to know everything I saw. I first oddly noticed that the start screen had a Charizard next to the trainer instead of a Charmander. Also, Pokemon never cycled through like the original versions did. It just stayed Charizard, even after 5 minutes of waiting. Shrugging, I hit start, noticing that there was no Charizard cry, but there was a supposed to be. I saw that there was a continue option, so I figured I'd do what everyone else did with used games and see what the previous owner had done. No. I blinked in surprise. No. What do you mean, no? The game wouldn't let me continue no matter what. Though, on the fourth attempt, I heard the Charizard cry. Quiet and barely audible, but there. Shrugging it off, I decided to hit new game, like I would have done after checking the old file anyway. The screen cut to black for a while. No Professor Oak, no starting theme, just nothing at all. Eventually, the screen did come back, showing a bedroom, two beds, two TVs, and a computer in the corner. My trainer sprite was the usual one, consistent with the original red version. I was curious as to why it didn't ask my name, though that was answered as I opened the pause menu. noticing my trainer was named Steven. No, this isn't my name or some stupid crap like that. This game isn't self aware or haunted, at least not that I'm aware of. It just had a name chosen already. Curious, I saw that he already had a starter amount of money. No badges. He didn't look like Red, though. His hair was longer, almost reaching halfway down his back. Red's usual smile was replaced with a confident smirk, however. Honestly, I found this sprite much cooler than Red. Next, I checked out his Pokemon, a single Charmander level 5 named Mickey. Nothing was odd about it, or I should say her, the name and all. She had beginning she had beginning Charmander stats. Only knew Scratch and Tail Whip basic stuff. The game seemed relatively normal. Returning to the game, I walked about the room, noticing Steven's long hair was present on the back of the trainer sprite when my back was turned to the camera. I didn't recognize this house though, but I descended the stairs to see more downstairs was another trainer who spoke to me the instant I came down. Mike, ready yet? Steven, yeah. I assume this Mike was my rival, pre-decided for me. A replacement of Blue. Most likely, though. I thought back to the bedroom having two beds, realizing they weren't just rivals, they were brothers. They talked back and forth, basic Pokemon dialogue, became a Pokemon master, catch 'em all, stuff like that, before having a little argument over which is better, Charmander or Squirtle. Which, of course, led to the introduction battle, like the one versus Blue in the lab. Simple enough, scratch, tackle, till I won purely for having the first turn. I took note of how much better Steven's sprite looked in combat than Red's. A different pose, his hair looking like it was blowing in the wind, a brief minor upgrade, but still much nicer. I left the house after some more banter with my brother, stepping out of Pallet Town and then hearing the theme. Going to the east, I found that this was, indeed, Pallet Town. The house was simply on the outskirts of the west. I noticed there was no mysterious grassy field like in the normal Pallet Town. Wandering about, I decided to check Red's house. His mother was inside, and I talked to her. She commented on how handsome Stephen looked, hoping her son would look up to him as a role model for when he became a trainer himself next year. Of course, which led me to realize this game took place a year before the original Pokemon. Red was upstairs playing the SNES in his room, commenting, I'm gonna be the best too when it's my turn. I started looking I started to like this hack. It was interesting, a completely new adventure, a different character. Hell, Steven even seemed to have a history with the people in this town. A retribution, a reputation, a personality beyond a silent protagonist. The people in the town talked to him as a person, making conversation, not just spouting typical crap. Even Blue's sister had new dialogue. They seemed to be in a relationship, too, as the dialogue ended with a kiss and a heart over her head. Professor Oak simply wished me well, giving me the Pokedex and aiding my venture. He wasn't giving it to me to be the reason behind the adventure like every other Pokemon game out there. He gave it to me out of kindness, something that helped me on my way, a gift. I was liking this more and more with each second of the game. The game seemed to have an actual story now. I was somebody, not just a cookie cutter protagonist anybody could be, not some blank sheet that could be replaced without notice. The story was different though the actual game played remained unchanged. I went north like I was supposed went to town, collect badges, receive praise from the leaders. Steven's fame even seemed to spread as some NPCs would talk like they knew him. I used Mickey for every battle. She was growing surprisingly fast. I handled Brock with easy and even pounded Misty with no trouble at all. She wasn't as adversely affected by super effective attacks as others, did more damage than a regular Charmander. She was vertibly powerhouse. She even became a Charizard at a mere level of 25. Not bad at all, I must say. Things started to get weird though as soon as I reached Lavender Town. I know, Lavender Town is the focus behind every single creepy story and the like, but this was the only place that was noticeably different. There was no Team Rocket invasion, which I found odd, even though I did reminder this was a year past, so the invasion wouldn't occur until Red's time. I tried to enter the Pokemon Tower, aiming to get a Ghastly, but that's when it got odd. Steven, I have no reason to be here. Stephen wouldn't go to the Pokemon Tower no matter what I did. This was weird. I mean, hell, there were a million places in Kanto you really had no need to be. Little random houses with nothing but children NPCs, for example. Why was it here that Stephen wanted to enter? With a shrug, I figured I wouldn't need a Ghastly, seeing as Mickey could handle anything, so I simply went on my way, Lavender Town serving no purpose other than a passageway to the Pokemon Center. The game progressed normally from there, with the remaining gyms fell, and eventually I made my way to the Elite Four and defeated them. As with Blue, my brother Mike was there before me, imitating the championship battle, which Mickey swept with ease. The aftermath of the battle was quite pleasant, none of the tension that was present between Blue and Red at the end of their match. The brothers congratulated each other on their progress and shook hands. Before the screen went white, no Hall of Fame, nor any credits. When the screen did come back, it was at the house again. The two brothers sitting on the computer, conversing with each other. I don't want to. Mike, come on. I just gotta borrow her for a second to finish the Pokedex. The entry won't register unless she recognizes me as master for just a second. Stephen, but she's my Mickey. Mike, I promise I'll give her back. Come on, please. Yes or no? I was a bit perplexed, so I hit no just to be cautious. Mike, come on, please. No. Mike, come on, please. I realized this would simply continue to loop until I hit yes. So I did, just to see what would happen. Mike, alright, this will just take a sec. Then we will both be Pokemasters, Steven. The screen changed to an animation shown when two people trade Pokemon, which I found a bit weird seeing as I was solo, but whether this was apparently supposed to happen, Mickey went first. I watched lazily as she began to travel down the trading tube. Snap! That made me jump. The sudden noise resonating in my silent bedroom. Loud noise due to the volume of being way up. Looking at the screen, I noticed the game had seemed to freeze. Mickey still in mid-trade, but the game wasn't doing anything. With a sigh, I just turned off the game, wondered when my last save was. When the game turned back on, I stared for a moment at the start screen. There was no Charizard next to the trainer. Upon pressing start, I saw a new game option was absent, leaving only continue. This was strange, to say at least. So I selected it, the game starting without even showing my stats as usual. My jaw dropped at what I saw net greeted with. 1 year later. The Lavender Town theme came first, playing its normal way. The screen slowly fading from blackness. Steven was in the Pokemon Tower, which made the music even stranger, seeing as the tower had its own theme. I was standing in front of a tombstone, not doing anything. Wondering what was going on, I pressed A. Steven. ... Confused, I tried walking to realize I was indeed in control at the moment. I brought up the pause menu and checked my party. Mickey was gone. Not just Mickey, all Pokemon. He had nothing. The Pokedex was absent from the menu. His bag was empty. Honestly concerned now, I checked his trainer card. He had no money. He had no badges. His playtime was 8,795 hours, which was impossible. I only had 30 logged in before, but that wasn't the strangest part. His picture, the picture of the handsome, confident young trainer, was different. His eyes were black. His face turned slightly down. That smirk of his was gone, replaced with a lack of expression at all. That long hair of his before, in a perfect perm, now was messy and unkempt. I couldn't look at him any more. Closing the menu, I went to move out of the tower, but every step I took away from the tombstone, the screen flickered like it did when a Pokemon was poisoned. Gulping, I brought up the trainer card again. His picture was getting worse. Every step I took, his he hung his head more and more. His shoulders slumped. He bent over. By the time he exited the tower, he was on his knees, hands to his face, hair draped across him. I had already guessed what was going on, but this clinched it. I began to put some things together in my mind. I had always wondered why there was no champion at the original game besides your rival. Why is it you, the protagonist, had to beat your rival when he just waltzed in, no previous champion to challenge? Then it struck me. The answer was right here. The previous champion gave up. His precious Mickey was apparently dead, and with her, so died a part of him. His Pokedex, the other Pokemon, his badges, his fame, all of it, he threw it away in that year. The year that I missed. The year where all of those hours came from. I even did the math. There are 8,765 hours in a year. Add that up to my 30 before it all matched up. Even so, the game kept going. This should have been the ending, I thought. I mean, what else was there to do? I had no Pokedex, no Pokemon, not anything. What was I supposed to be doing? I talked to everyone in town, but they all said similar things. Are you okay? Still mourning, I see. Everything will be alright. Please, is there anything we can do to help you? Stephen never replied to them, and they all simply said the same things over and over again. I couldn't put the game down now. This was strange. Curious, I headed off into the tall grass and eventually got into battle with a Rattata. No Pokemon was sent out, just Steven's sprite. I was wondering how'd I battle. The wild Rattata left you be. The battle ended without anything happening. This was certainly interesting, and it happened with every Pokemon I encountered. The wild Pidgey ignored you. Wild Ponyta wandered off. The music never changed either. No matter where I went, Lavender Town came from speakers following me. Sometimes slowed down slightly, sometimes not. I searched everything, every town, tried to talk to everybody, wondering what the hell I needed to do. My frustration was mixing with the depressing atmosphere of all this, making the experience altogether unnerving and uncomfortable. But I couldn't tear myself away. I was starting to get a little bit angry, though. Nobody telling me anything besides giving me their best condolences and trying to give me items like lemonade or coffee, each met with Stephen, dot, 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 no, dot, dot, dot. I slapped myself for idiocy. Suddenly realizing how this was the likely answer was right in front of me. Pallet Town, of course. When I went through, which took a long time, I having to walk, no Pokemon to fly with, no bicycle to ride, and Steven only seeming to move half the regular movement. It wasn't much different. I just tried talking to Professor Oak. These things happen. You are just unlucky. Next, I tried Blue's sister. Please, don't leave home again. Red's mom wouldn't even talk to me at all. With nowhere else in mind to go, I walked to the west, finding the house from the beginning, which I had never entered since leaving Pallet Town. Inside was Mike, not talking, but talking to him was as useless. Mike, I'm so sorry. I pondered for a moment if this really was the ending. Stephen doomed to do nothing but roam Kanto in misery, haunted by the memories, forced to listen to everyone's concerns about him as a last-ditch effort to do anything. I went to the bedroom and walked over to the bed. Stephen, I'm going to sleep. The screen faded to black for a moment, but then slowly faded back in, the world having a black tint to it, and Mike's sprite laying on the other bed. I assumed this was meant to be night. Steven, I'm gonna do it. Do what? Again, I have no idea. Tried inspecting everything in the room. Nothing happened. As soon as I left the house, another dialogue. Steven, it can bring her back. It can do anything. What the hell was it? Something that could do anything? I couldn't for the life of me figure out what it was. Wondering about. I tried to leave Pallet Town the usual way. Stephen, not that way. He wouldn't go any further. I tried to Holmes. Stephen, screw them. I quirked my eyebrow at that, forgetting for a moment that this wasn't a real Pokemon game. The vulgarity took me off guard. I continued to look around, but there was nowhere I could go until I accidentally stepped on the ocean. Stephen walked right in, only the upper half of his sprite visible, like the swimmers you encounter in the Cerulean Gym. I didn't know he could swim. Stephen, the missing one. Missing one? I paused for a moment. No, he couldn't possibly mean that. I hadn't tried the missing no trick on this hack yet, but it just fit too well. That had to be what he meant. I surfed all the way towards Cinnabar. I began to feel something was off. More so than this already was. Silent. The Lavender Town theme had stopped. There was no noise at all, nor was there any Pokemon. I just kept going, finding Cinnabar and surfing up and down the east coast. Lo and behold, Wild Missing No appeared. Stephen, mine. Wild Missing No was caught. What the hell? Stephen didn't do anything. He just commanded that atrocity of broken data to join him. No, it became his possession, and it did. I was getting more and more disturbed by all this. Checking the start menu, I saw Missing No was not in my party, but instead an item. Making things even stranger, I checked the trainer card as well. Stephen had his back turned to me, his long hair draped behind him, his hands in his pockets. Nothing else. Remembering what he said at the start of the night, I realized what I had to do. I surfed to land and made my way northeast to where else? Lavender Town. Along the way, I noticed all the trainers oddly still out at this hour. Wouldn't look at Stephen, all of them turning when he passed, even those that were normally static. I tried talking to one of the officers in the guardhouse type buildings. Just go. They all said the same thing through one sent chills down my spine. Sometimes dead is best. My hands were sweating by this point. Stephen was about to try the impossible. Something some would see as a crime against nature, which many of these people shared that opinion. I steeled myself. It's just a game. I was going to complete it. It took an eternity to reach Pokemon Tower, but I got there eventually. Taking a deep breath and headed towards the tombstone. I remembered which one. The image of Stephen standing before it was burned into my mind after all. First I tried interacting with it. Stephen, Mickey. Nothing happened. With a gulp, I opened the main menu and selected Missing No from the bag. Oak, Stephen, don't use it. I was reminded of when Professor Oak would magically tell you that you couldn't use a key item somewhere, like when the bicycle in a building, though the message this time was different. Even worse, Stephen responded to it. Stephen, in a world that cheated me, why should I play fair? Stephen used it. Dot 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 dot. Stephen obtained M at hashtag $sign. What in God's name did I obtain? I couldn't tell you because the game took away my control without my input. Stephen began to leave the tower on his own, walking single step by single step. Lavender Town theme started playing again as he left the tower and began his excruciatingly slow journey against my will. Every time he crossed one of the borders where the music would change, it got progressively slower and more disturbing. By the time he reached the Cerulean City, it was a demonic rumbling. I just stared, watching him, trying to guess where he was going, but it was getting more and more obvious. He was heading to Pallet Town. The music had all but stopped when he got there. Playing single note by single note, he went exactly where I guessed, right to his own house, inside and went upstairs. At this point, there was no music. Stephen moved step by step, stopping at his brother's bed, turning to his face. At first, the game froze, but he didn't do anything. Simply stood there. I couldn't move him. I did, however, find out I could open the pause menu. I was terrified to look, but I couldn't see myself. I selected the trainer card. There was a low growl noise, like a distorted Pokemon cry. Stephen was looking at me, directly at the screen. He was hunched over, his bangs obscuring his face. His hair was wild and feathered out. Between his bangs, there wasn't even a face, just black. Two red eyes looking straight forward, and a white grin contrasting with the darkness. That wasn't all. His name was that now S exclamation point 3v3N. I couldn't look away. My eyes were glued to his, not breaking contact for some time. My vision was getting blurry until I couldn't see very well. My face grew wet. I was crying like a baby. There was nothing I could do to hold back the tears. I was this boy from the start. I built up to his greatness, and was then forced to watch his decline after a tragic accident, and now he was this thing, this abomination. I watched him go insane. Halting my tears and wiping my eyes, I closed out the trainer card and tried to save the game, wanting to quit. The game informed me this was impossible. Nothing can be saved now. The pause menu wouldn't close no matter what I did, so there was no other option. I checked the bag. Nothing happened. I checked Pokemon, and there was one. A single sprite met me. It had 0 HP. Its status, DAD. Its name, M at hashtag $. I selected it, and I was greeted with 4 options. Status, it's her. Switch, never. Close, no. Strangle. My fingers shaking. I selected strangle, and the close menu showing Stephen in the room again. S exclamation point 3v3N. Goodbye. Snap. The game shut itself off. I was more dumbfounded than frightened. In a bit of shock, I turned it back on, and the title screen showing the manic Stephen and a horribly glitched Charizard. I pressed start, then continue. All I saw was a zoomed out view of Pallet Town showing Stephen's home to the west, tall grass surrounding it, with unmovable stones blocking it from the rest of the town. The image was completely static. No music, no movement, before fading to white, going back to the title screen. It was as it had been before when I first popped it in. A trainer and a Charizard. I attempted to hit continue. ... No. ... Hello everyone, this is the Sleeping Wendigo, and I hope you'd enjoyed this creepypasta. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe, and to check out the rest of my stuff in the description, like my Twitter, my Twitch, and my second channel, as well as I have a merch store now. I would like for everyone to check everything out on those if it is possible. I hope y'all really did enjoy this video, and as always, I will see you all next time.